Hey Top Shelfers, and welcome back to the bar. This has been a very special year for us, and as such, we wanted to celebrate with all of you by making you guys a very special drink. We crossed a major milestone recently here in 2023 of passing 200 subscribers. And although that seems small to a great many YouTubers, this is pretty big for our channel considering just where we started and where we've come to. It's been such a grind, and we're so happy to have welcomed you all to the Top Shelf community. And as a result, we've been able to make a very special drink for you, which is normally exclusive for our newsletter members, but we wanted to share this with the entirety of our community in celebration and in preparation for Thanksgiving coming up. So maybe you're heading to your family or perhaps your in-laws' house to enjoy that wonderful meal, but you could use perhaps a little bit of an alcoholic libation to get you through the event, or maybe just to enhance the fun. This, I think, is a great drink for you. It's called the Harvest Hangover, and I think it takes all the flavors of Thanksgiving and fall and autumn and any other word that you can think of the season, and it puts it into a drink in a beautiful way. So let's begin by building our liquid base with all of our alcohols. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add Christian Brothers brandy. I love this brand. It is a fantastic mixer with anything that has bold flavors. And for those of you who may have watched more than one episode, you know that I love to say how this bridges the gap. And I love doing that with it because it really does. It does a great job of bridging the gap between major flavors without diluting the alcohol or the taste. It has a nice mild brandy flavor, not too bold, subtly fruity, a nice dark sweet fruit type of flavor. It does a great job with things like amaretto, with things like whiskey, and with other darker liquors, and even some bright ones, as long as it fits the same flavor profile of dark fruits. And in our recipe, we are going to put in 1/4 of an ounce. So not a whole lot, but like I said, this is more of just a bridge to our drink. The next thing that we're going to add is 1/2 ounce of amaretto, because when you think of anything with Thanksgiving, it's normally pies: pumpkin pie, apple pie, pecan pie, or pecan pie, depending on where you come from. Amaretto will be able to give us the nuttiness, that sweet aroma and flavor that is reminiscent of like graham cracker crust, I like to think of it. It just adds that sweet breadiness to a drink that can really transform your sweeter cocktails into something that's reminiscent of some of perhaps your most favorite desserts. And so it's a great addition in our drink here for that reason, and is really the inspiration for me adding this, because I love apple pie and I love pecan pie especially, and I love the smell of amaretto. So the smell and taste is fantastic, and I think it's only going to increase the beauty of the flavor in this cocktail and really work well with the other flavors that we have in it. The next we're going to add is a full 1/2 ounce of apple juice. So this is Lakewood Pure Apple juice. One thing that I love about Lakewood is that they are only one ingredient on the back, which is organic apple juice, no added fillers, which just gets a really clean taste. And I really appreciate that, because sometimes you have juices and they're a little bit too sweet. But with this, it's just all apple all the time, no added flavors, nothing that's gonna make you feel really sick afterwards. This is a great juice to use if you want to kind of heighten your cocktail past perhaps some easier mixers. Then the final ingredient that we're going to add to our base, which is perhaps the most important, is 1.5 ounces of bourbon. Now I'm using Hudson whiskey from New York. My family had actually gone there recently this past year to visit my sister, who was living in Connecticut at the time. And we decided to come across and buy this particular whiskey. We love the regional whiskeys. Chattanooga whiskey is one of my favorites as well. This is also a very, very solid whiskey. Nice and sweet, not too smoky. I think that's what's going to play really well with this. Another good thing about this particular drink is that any bourbon's going to do well. Jim Beam does really, really well. You know, if you like Jack Daniels, you want it to be a little smokier, you can use that as well. Any bourbon's going to do just fine in this. As long as it's got more of a sweet profile, I think it's going to play better, but you can do whatever you want and customize this drink however you please, because after all, this is for you. I'm making this one for me, so I'm gonna go with Hudson whiskey here today. But that is our base. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add some extra elements that's really gonna amplify our autumnal flavors in our blender here. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take 8.5 ounces of warmed apple cider. I used a Honeycrisp blend apple cider that I found at my store. I went to Publix, and then I warmed it over my stove at a lower temperature. I didn't want it to boil because that would just be a little bit too hot, and I didn't want to scald any of the flavors that were already there, or perhaps evaporate what was already in the blend. Because we want what's there, we just want it warm. That's really all I'm going for there. And so I'm gonna slowly pour the 8.5 ounces that perfectly fit in this mason jar into here. Well, that's a little bit more than 8.5 ounces according to that, but that's okay. You know, we don't have to use all of it. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a full tablespoon, no, I'm sorry, not tablespoon, a full teaspoon of pumpkin butter. Now, pumpkin butter, as we have here, was something that I actually made with my mother ourselves, but you can also use Trader Joe's version. This is kind of what we based our recipe off of, that we actually found on the internet. Really good. It's just a pumpkin puree with a little bit of ginger, pumpkin spice, maybe some cloves, and a little bit of lemon juice and some honey. Add that all up, heat it up over the stove so that it gets this nice, beautiful brown color. This is the wrong spoon. This is about a teaspoon that we've measured out, so I'm just gonna take a full scoop here and then put that on in. And this is just delicious flavor. I'm a big fan of this pumpkin butter and Trader Joe's, in all fairness. I'm actually gonna get a little bit more out here since we had more than 8.5 ounces in ours here. So just to make sure that the flavors are all balanced, I'm gonna do about 2 teaspoons. The next thing that we're gonna add is 1.5 teaspoons of pure pumpkin puree. I got this out of a can, so that's more than easy enough for us to be able to do here. You can also get a small pumpkin and roast it and then puree it yourself if you wanna add all the work, but a canned pumpkin will do just fine. And I'm gonna put in about 3 tablespoons here, considering the increased size of our apple cider. And then pour that all in, get some of the goop off. Maybe eat it. That's pumpkin. It's actually really good. So next thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna give this a blend until it's all nice and liquefied. Well, that's blending. I wanted to let you guys know that today's episode is sponsored by me. I've been doing this for a while, and I wanted to share with you guys that we actually have a newsletter on our website at topshelfhistory.com where we are able to update you guys on what's going on here at Top Shelf History and include 4 seasonal drinks that we send to you guys quarterly for you to be able to enjoy. Those are exclusive to you. This happens to be one of them, the Harvest Hangover. We also have St. Nick's Nog, St. Patty's Snake Oil, and the Sunburn as well. All each very unique in their own way and delicious, and just for the subscribers to our newsletter. So if you want some delicious exclusive cocktails, consider that. You'll also be able to get Behind the Bar, our exclusive show behind some of the most classic cocktails that comes from a very old recipe book that I had from my grandfather that dates back to the 30s, and they look something like this. Hey Top Shelfers, welcome to Behind the Bar, where we make historic cocktails that are enjoyed every day. This is part of our exclusive content for our email members as well as our locals patrons. Thank you so much for being part of the Top Shelf community. And today we are getting into another historic cocktail, and this particular cocktail looks fantastic. It's got so many different elements going into it, but I just can't wait to try them all out and put them into a single glass. So let's get into our drink. I can only imagine how this is gonna taste. Ah! It's attacked me! And it looks gorgeous. Oh yeah. This one just perplexes me. That's blissful. That's fascinating. Smells really interesting. That is, hold on. That's surprisingly not bad. Yo, what? Oh wow. Oh wow. It just has an identity crisis. Oh yeah. That is a classic. That's crazy. Oh my gosh, guys. Take the risk. Enter the void, look into the abyss, and jump a little bit because this is so worth it. Amazing. I am mind blown. So please consider going over to topshelfhistory.com and signing up for our newsletter and joining the Top Shelf community. I'm sure that you will love every single bit of information and cocktails and behind the bars that we offer there. But our drink sounds like it's finishing up, so let's get back to the Harvest Hangover. All right, so it's just been blended. Now we're gonna give it a taste, see how it is, see if we need to add any extra ingredients. Now I utilized the juicer portion of this. It's a little bit aggressive. You may not want to do that. Maybe just pulse it a bit, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to keep that steam in there, which I think we got, but very good. But it could use a couple of spices. So I'm gonna add in about 1.5 teaspoons worth of pumpkin pie spice, which is just essentially nutmeg, cloves, and cinnamon. Mostly nutmeg and cinnamon. I think that's about 1.5 teaspoons. I'm eyeballing it, it's fine. We'll just taste and continue on. Next we're gonna put it back in, pulse it a little bit, turn this back on. Yeah, that's nice and mixed. Let's give it another taste. And the good thing is, if you want it thicker, you can just pulse it a little bit more, or you can add some more puree and butter. This one, I wanted it to be a little bit thinner. That way it mixes a little better with our alcohol. Very good, very good, very good. I think it could probably use a little bit more pumpkin flavor though, so I'm gonna actually add some more of our pumpkin butter and our pumpkin puree as well. So plop that on in and plop that on in. And we'll pulse it up again. That looks nice and mixed. Like I said, if you guys stick to the recipe of around 8.5 ounces of apple cider plus the about 2.5 teaspoons or maybe just a couple tablespoons of pumpkin puree, depending on your taste, this will come out a little bit thicker and a little bit more consistent than what I'm doing right now. But yeah, that's just where we want it. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're going to assemble by pouring this in all the way up to near the brim, and then we're gonna top it with some whipped cream. So let me go get that. Welcome back. I've got my whipped cream. It's a little bit messy, but the best way that we can pipe this is just to throw it into a Ziploc bag. If you guys are bakers, then you definitely know this technique, and I'm just gonna cut off the corner here, pour this on in. I am not a professional baker, as you can tell, but I try, and that is the best I can do. And look at that, it's something. I mean, it's whipped cream and it's got an interesting peak, but you know, if you cut it at a smaller edge, it should give you a better tip. But you know, it's okay. We're not perfect. What we are gonna do is we're gonna finish off this garnish with a cinnamon stick. If I can get this open. I did. Yay for me. A cinnamon stick, and then a little bit of pumpkin pie spice. Oh yeah, look at that. And there you have it. That is the Harvest Hangover. Let's give it a taste. That is all of my favorite things about fall in a drink. Oh my gosh, this is if fall had a campfire and then put it in a drink and you were able to drink it, that is this elixir that is going down into my chest cavity and thus the stomach, because it is fantastic. You have the nice coolness of the fresh whipped cream that I really think is fantastic if you make it yourself, because then you can gauge whether or not it's super sweet or perhaps less sweet and more creamy. Then with the apple juice plus the apple cider, there's a wonderful fall delicious sweetness that's in there. A slight burn that you get from the 1.5 ounces of whiskey. It's not very harsh because after all, compared to the rest of the drink, it's gonna get a little bit lost in there. If you want this to have more punch behind it, just add some more whiskey. After all, we added about 9 ounces of non-alcoholic liquid in there, plus our 1/2 ounce of apple juice. But all the spices, the pumpkin butter, the pumpkin pie spice, plus you know, you have the apple cider. All of it is just melding together so wonderfully in this concoction of warm, sweet, delicious goodness. And this is absolutely the drink I think that you want to enjoy right after you finish your Thanksgiving meal. Leave some space in your stomach for this, because I guarantee you this is worth it. A beautiful dessert drink to finish out Thanksgiving and enjoy the time that you guys are having with your families. But from all of us here at Top Shelf History, thank you so much for being part of this community. Thank you for the 200 subscribers, now 200 plus subscribers that we have of you guys. And we hope that you all have a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving from us to you and your families. And from me here, cheers.